Jewish pub, this is a place for you. If you want to see kosher restaurant nights and Jews getting together for social reasons and simchas, this is a home for you. If you want to make sure that anyone who is struggling and in need of a dignified place to get spiritual support and guidance, this place is for you. And if you want to see our beautiful children have an amazing place with a teen lounge and after-school activities, this is a home for you.
A house that's going to be built here, Chabad of Cary, is going to be a home, as Rabbi Kufner just said, for everybody. Another shell that we wear all day when we are at work, when we are in our professional environment, we are able to get rid of it. We break that shell. And when we come into the home, our inner essence is revealed. That is the meaning of a home. Word breaking, we're not, God forbid, breaking anything, except this little sign. But what we're doing is breaking that outer shell and allowing the inner core of each and every one of us to come out. And this is by prayer to God Almighty on this special day, that anyone that enters into this home should feel comfortable, should feel relaxed, should feel confident, should be able to be themselves without pretending not to be who they are.
And I remember the first time I thought, as a young boy, it's incredible how much this building has transformed my life. I wish I could be lucky enough one day to have a small part in building of a community somewhere in the world. I grew up and watched the way that the Rebbe's ambassadors, the Rebbe Shluchim, to my hometown in Houston, inspired our family. And I thought to myself, I wish one day I could have the merit to uplift my fellow Jew, my fellow human being, and be in a position that I would be able to touch hearts and souls, to have a life where I can practice the Rebbe's teachings and really wake up every single day with this sense of urgency to fill the space that I live with light and positivity and this spirit of Torah and mitzvahs. And it was with a lot of excitement that when I met my better half Chana, that this dream became a reality. And it was with this in mind that we showed up in Cary some 14 years ago, alongside our mentor, dear friend, Rabbi Aaron and Leah Herman. We were young, perhaps a bit naive at the time. We had a sweet baby girl. Rivka, you're listening on Zoom, we miss you. Another baby on the way. What did we have back then? We had a garage. And in that garage, we had 4 children that started Hebrew school. We had a dining room where we could host Shabbat guests. We had a living room, except it wasn't a living room because it was, of course, transformed into our synagogue. We had bedrooms that also doubled up as kiddush rooms, classrooms, and playrooms. Now we break ground on our new building. You know, our mission, our identity, our secret sauce, it doesn't change. It's the same unconditional love. It's the same making everyone feel that they are welcome without any judgment. That same giving light and joy to everyone we meet. Chabad is not about building buildings. Chabad is about building people, about communities. But to build people, you need.
At that moment, Judah rises up like a lion and declares, he says these powerful words, Ki avdecha arav et hana'ar. I took responsibility for the lad, says Judah. I took responsibility for my younger brother Benjamin when we left our father Jacob. I promised that I would not return without Benjamin at my side. Judah says to Joseph, I cannot face my father without Benjamin. Joseph, seeing how the brothers have repented with a fierce love and responsibility for each other, Joseph can no longer hide his identity. He breaks down in tears and he reveals himself to his brothers. This year, when I read those words, Ki avdecha arav et hanar, I took responsibility for the lad. My eyes welled up in tears. In my imagination, I saw my Rebbe, our Rebbe, his face aglow, teaching for hours, but always culminating with the same resounding message. You and I, you and I must take responsibility for the lad. The Rebbe would urge us, don't lament and fetch and sit and analyze the problems in the Jewish world today. Go take action. Go out of your comfort zone. Build communities, schools, synagogues, yeshivas. Give every Jewish child the gift of a Torah education. Help people get in touch with their Jewish souls and their spiritual inheritance. And most of all, care about the other as though, because they are, your brother, your sister, your own flesh and blood. And friends, this is what this building is all about. It will include a spacious lobby where we can connect over a hot coffee, where kids can connect over a slushie, a large social hall, Western Lake County's first kosher commercial kitchen. It will have a well-equipped library, a space for Torah study and prayer. But more important than all of this, it will be a home where every single Jew is family. You know, recently I was having a late midnight discussion with a young woman who was struggling. And in the middle of the discussion, she turned to me randomly and she said, Hannah, what brought you here to Morrisville? Why'd you move here? I thought about it for a moment and then I looked at her in the eye and I said, it was for this very moment. It was for you and I to be sitting here at midnight because you need to know that someone cares. You need to know that you matter, that you are an indispensable member of our community. Friends, we cannot rest until every single adult and child knows that they have a home here, that they belong, that there is always a shoulder to lean on, an extended Jewish family waiting in this building with open arms, ready to greet them, a place to discover and explore the precious divine light that resides within each and every one of our souls. You know, I recall at one of our events, I was standing near the door welcoming everyone, and someone came up to me and she asked me, she said, Hannah, where did you learn this technique? She called it a technique. To make everyone feel so welcome, to make everyone feel like they're your best friend. And I remember looking at her like genuinely in surprise and saying, technique, this is not a technique. This is not an art that I studied, a skill that I honed. This is a natural expression that flows in the most genuine and authentic of ways when you feel excited to welcome your family back home. You know, my two older children learn away from home. They're in a Jewish boarding high school. We don't have a high school for them here. I know what it feels like when they haven't been home for a while and I stand by the door waiting to greet them with open arms. No one has to teach me how to do that. That is why Yisrael and I feel like each and every time we welcome each of you to an event, a program, a class. This new building is your home. It will transform the future of Jewish life. It will be a forever building, God willing. Midor lidor, generations will, God willing, sing and celebrate and learn and pray in the halls of this holy.
Steve is a council member, a town of Morrisville. He's also the son of my dear neighbor. And let me just say, living in a small town like this, a couple weeks ago, we had a little hiccup trying to get the permits for today's event. So I gave Steve a ring and someone said he's out of town. I still messaged him. He texted me back, I'm in Kenya on safari. Is it important? I said, yes, it's important. He calls me from Kenya and within 12 hours, everything was taken care of. Thank you for your friendship.
Thank you all very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Show me some applause. I've got a few remarks to make, and then obviously, such an honor. I'm actually videoing this. So first of all, I just want to show our Governor Josh Stein, the first Jewish governor in North Carolina history, and the third in the United States. Real quickly, I just want to say that next week is MLK weekend, and one of my favorite quotes from that from Dr. King is, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can, and hate cannot drive out hate, only love can." And traditionally, the Shabbat is a beacon of light and hope for Jewish families all around the world, and will be a beacon of hope and light for Jewish families here in Warsaw and beyond, a place of learning, connecting, and growing. And so, what I think today we celebrate is, I often say, Warsaw isn't a town or city, it's a mosaic. It's a mosaic of every culture, every religion, every faith in this world. And today, this Shabbat serves the new thread in that tapestry as we celebrate so many great things, that we build a better future, not just for ourselves, but for future generations of Jewish Americans and all Americans and North Carolinians. So I just want to thank the rabbi for his commitment, along with Anna and all of the members of this community. Let's continue to do great things. Mazel tov.
For everyone in this community, Jews and non-Jews alike. This will be a place where learning and understanding and acceptance happen. Because here, everyone will matter. Everyone will be accepted. And that's how Morrisville is. Morrisville is live connected, live well. Love, light, and connection.
I remember the day bids started coming back, and I quickly learned a lesson in construction. It's always more than you think it is. And I remember at that time, I had a conversation with my dear brother and sister, Daniel and Ita. And they're individuals I turn to for guidance in many areas. And I asked them, what do you think our next step should be with this new amount? And I told them, I believe we can do it, but it will need 1 or 2 lead gifts that will then inspire the community. I bet that would make the difference. And what came next is something that still gives me goosebumps until today, when Daniel and Ita said, perhaps we can find a way to give a gift that will be able to spearhead the project in memory of our dear son Mendel. They acknowledged that it would take a huge leap of faith, a lot of blessings from above, but what started as an idea became a mitzvah that they wanted to do with all of their hearts, and they believed that if somehow they pledged it, somehow God would give them the ability to be able to fulfill that pledge, even though it went above what others might say is possible. I'm humbled by their generosity, as should everyone in this room should be, stretching in ways that seem out of reach. And I'm also inspired at how they transformed such a loss in their lives into something that will be a blessing for thousands and thousands of us. And I'm deeply honored that we are breaking ground today on Bais Mendel, the Cary Morrisville Jewish Center.
Being here now means navigating some pretty intense emotions. We are straddling real joy and excitement on one side and pain and loss on the other. And yet I'm feeling grateful to Hashem for the space in my heart that can hold it all at once. When Mendel was just a few weeks old, we were overwhelmed with his medical needs, his very constant feedings around the clock, and we were pretty exhausted, physically and emotionally, probably spiritually. And by Hashem's kindness, it was close to the holiday of Sukkot, and Yisrael, who was a young man at the time, was home from yeshiva, and offered to come stay in our apartment with us for a few nights to help us. He fed Mendel, he held him, comforted him, fed him again, gave us very much needed rest and respite. Properly, thank you. But as I prepared to come here today, it was clear that both Hannah and Yisrael have been still, holding, feeding, nurturing, caring, and giving us much needed comfort.
I don't know how to stop the Zoom here.
We're so grateful for this. Mendel will always be a part of Cary through our gratitude. While we've been fortunate to visit Cary and the Cary Cotters many, many times, Mendel only visited Cary once. It was about 15 years ago, I think, for the holiday of Purim. And I smile when I remember this because the holiday of Purim is all about joy and laughter and dancing. And it makes so much sense to me and to many who know Mendel that those be the feelings connected with his one visit here. Mendel will always be a part of Cary through joy. Anyone who knew Mendel or even met him once remembers his smile, his warmth, his kindness. We've been told so many accounts of how Mendel went out of his way, even at a very young age, to connect with people and look out for anyone and everyone he met. Mendel will always be a part of Cary through his kindness. As Mendel approached becoming bar mitzvah, he was so excited to do all the mitzvahs, to be responsible for the mitzvahs, but especially the mitzvah of tefillin. He talked about it a lot. He was so excited. I know many of you here put on tefillin and continue to do mitzvahs in his merit and in his memory. Mendel will always be a part of Cary through the mitzvahs he inspired. 8 years ago, we wrote a Torah in Mendel's memory. And for the first few years, the Torah lived here in Cary till it came home to Houston. And we think very fondly of the years that it was here, being read from on Shabbos, being held, loved, cherished. Mendel will always be a part of Cary through the love of Torah. We feel very deep, deep gratitude to Rabbi Yisrael and Hannah, to the community here, and to Hashem for the physical and spiritual space you're creating that will continue Mendel's legacy. I have no doubt that when you walk into Bais Mendel, for those of you who knew Mendel, it will feel warmly familiar. And to those of you who are just meeting Mendel now, you'll get to know him through the warmth, kindness, joy, gratitude, and love of Torah and mitzvahs that you will find there.
Dear family and friends, imagine you are wandering through an enormous library. It has millions of books, and you are wandering through looking at all the titles of the books, and then suddenly you stop. There's a book, and on the title it's got your name. You take it out and you see that there are several hundred pages of this book, written by many different hands in many different languages. With a shock, you realize that this book has been written by your ancestors. Every single one of them has written a chapter in this book telling their story. And as you get to the end of the book, you get another shock. You see an empty page with your name on it, and you realize that this is the chapter that you have to write. You can't just put this book back on the shelf, walk away and forget about it. No, this isn't just history. This is your story. You are going to write your own amazing chapter, and when the time comes, give that book to your children and grandchildren to write theirs. This famous story was first said by Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. Dear community, this is what I feel it means to be a Jew. A Judaism that is alive, a pride in who I am, a faith that is real, a community that supports one another. I had my bat mitzvah last year, but that wasn't the end of my Jewish learning. I come now each week to the teen program, growing in my Judaism as a young woman. How could I put the book down? This is my story. I am a part of the Jewish people's history. I also can't wait to one day be a teen teacher in a Hebrew school. But everyone, that needs to happen in our own building, our own Jewish center. Each and every one of us needs a Jewish home.
I walked into Chabad of Cary a few years ago after not being there for several years and went to the kippah jar where there were yarmulkes available for those who didn't have one. And I saw there was an orange kippah amongst all the blues, blacks, and white kippahs in there. I, of course, grabbed it and I got so excited that somebody else liked the color orange. I looked on the inscription of the kippah and saw where it was from. The 2009 bar mitzvah of Spencer Grant. My bar mitzvah kippah at Chabad of Cary from 15 years ago. Honestly, that makes no sense. Hundreds of other kippahs had come and gone, but somehow this one was still in the box, surviving 3 different moves of Chabad of Cary. While I still don't know how it ended up there, I can tell you the message I took, that this was a place where I belonged. I had started returning to synagogue to say Kaddish for my dear father, Keith Grant, who passed away 3 years ago and was an active member of the Chabad of Cary community. My father always had a strong connection to his Judaism. His mother passed away on Yom Kippur, and he always made it a point to say Kaddish for her every Yom Kippur. Chabad of Cary provided a space where he could gather with a minyan to say this important prayer honoring his mother's life. I wanted to honor his memory in the same way he had honored his parents. And Chabad of Cary provided an opportunity for me to do this. And so standing here today is very special for me because I am so excited to see Chabad of Cary finally getting its own home. When Chabad of Cary first started, it was out of a house where Rabbi Aaron Herman and later Rabbi Yisrael lived with their families. That house was also where I was bar mitzvahed and made everyone wear the orange kippahs. That house will always hold a special place for me, both because it was where I was bar mitzvahed and also because it was the place where I have so many memories of going to shul with my father. That was, however, a house, not a home. I know how much my father cared about Chabad of Cary getting its own home. A full decade ago, for months, he drove around with Rabbi Yisrael looking for properties and potential lots. Even when he got sick, he would always ask the rabbi about their progress on the future home. And this is our opportunity to build our Chabad home. Standing here today, I think of my father and how proud he'd be that we're finally breaking ground. Contributing to this project and speaking about it has been a great way for me to connect with my late father. This has connected my family over generations, and I think that's one of the most beautiful things about having a home. Connecting generations and families and creating an environment where we can create memories that we can cherish and share with future generations. So thank you everyone for being here today and being a part of this exciting moment for our community.
And even though it was about my kids to start, the rabbi made it very clear that Judaism is a very personal journey. And when the rabbi makes his speeches, even though he's speaking to an entire congregation, he's actually speaking to everyone individually. And what he has spoken to me over the last 15 years has been, you don't have to wake up one morning and decide you're going to be a super Jew, even though that's my superhero name. But still, you don't have to be super Jew on day one. But what the rabbi has said is very simple. As the years go by, just do a little bit more each year. Something that's going to be meaningful to you, something that you're going to want to do and you're going to want to carry forward. And that's been the mantra of my life since I met the rabbi, that it's a journey, it's a long journey, but I have the support and the love of this community and the rabbi and the rebbitzin, that my journey, even though it's personal to me, they've made it personal to them. So to me, and I'm speaking for myself and myself only, what does this building mean to me? It says to me that we as Jewish people, we're not going to be intimidated. We're not going to be scared. We're not going to be scared to be who we are. And we're not going to be afraid of the silent, of the loud minority who wants to see us destroyed. This building, to me, again, speak for myself, this is a symbol that we are not going to hide. We are proud of who we are. We're going to defend who we are. And all the naysayers and all the people that want to see us destroyed, I've got some news for you. We're not going anywhere. This building is out. Let's think about it.
But never asked the question until when I was there with my mom, who's 92 recently. I'm like, how did the synagogue get here? It was kind of always there. I didn't really give it any thought, but I when I probed into it, basically there were visionaries, people like us, like me and you, and we're so happy to see everyone today. They made a decision. They wanted to bring Jewish life to the town. And like us, they had words, and they were primarily financial ones. This is not Europe, in the 1700s. where Jews in these communities were obligated to support their institutions. This is not Israel, where tax money goes to support institutions. In the United States, supporting institutions, Jewish institutions or any religious institution, is a choice. And it's so wonderful that this community has stepped up to make that choice, to pay it forward, just as we're doing today for ourselves. And again, as been said before, for generations to come. We're building a center of Jewish life here. We've spoken about, we will pray together, learn Torah together, educate our kids together, and celebrate, at least in my lifetime. And I speak as someone who has been personally targeted and attacked for supporting Israel this year. So what does a Jewish community in the United States do to fight this hatred? Do we destroy property? No. Do we disrupt campuses? Do we target minority groups? Do we block roads? Do we block airports? Do we take over city council meetings with, vicious nonsense and not allow them to do their job? We massively protest at hospitals, trying to get them to fire Jewish Zionist staff. We bully college administrators into divesting from the one democracy in the Middle East. No. What do? We celebrate our Judaism. We build our new Center for Jewish Life. That's what we do. That's how we win. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. He mentioned everyone who worked so hard. I want to give a special thank you to someone who spent thousands and thousands of hours. Michael Shimberoff, our project manager. Literally thousands and thousands of hours. Jasmine is here on behalf of the Federation. Please come up, and as she does, friends, as we stand here, please take a moment to think how you can partner with us in this historic moment. We have many dedications still available. BuildJewishCary.org for your loved ones, to honor the memory of someone. And we know that there's one mitzvah in which God says, test me. With the mitzvah tzedakah, God assures us that when you give charity, you will prosper. The book of Malachi says, test me in this and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour blessings. May each of you be blessed through your giving, and may your generosity open up the floodgates of heaven in abundance for you in every area of your life.
One thing that always stuck with me after I read the biography of the Rebbe was someone came to him and said, what do I do when I'm feeling like I have too much on my plate? I have too much going on. How do I prioritize? And he said, take on one more thing. Do more, because you don't realize how much capacity you have as a human being. And both of you have really inspired me in that vein, that we really don't know how much we can do. Every person counts, every action counts. Everything we do can tip the balance for good. So today I hope this institution becomes one of those things that tips the balance for good. And thank you both for embodying that.
All right, let's break ground. And if we could put the cornerstone there, please, the Evan Hapina, the cornerstone in our area. Mendel, do you mind bringing it over? And while every single dollar is treasured, this community is made up of donations on every level, and it will take the entire community. I do want to take the opportunity to give thanks to those who went above and beyond. We're going to break ground here. In 4 rounds, I want to call up the visionaries who've made substantial gifts, followed by the pillars, followed by our founders, followed by our children. Please, I would like to call up Rabbi Yossi Groner, the director of Chabad of Carolina, on whose sweat we build this future center. I want to call up Rabbi Daniel and Ita Kotler, who dedicated Bais Mendel, as you will see, on the cornerstone. I want to call up Lisa and Stephen Firestein, who are dedicating the beautiful social hall. We are deeply blessed to have friends like you who care about our community. This support will be felt for generations. I want to call up Alan and Kim Berliant, who generously dedicated the lobby. It is going to be our new living room for our Jewish community.
Spread out, spread light, spread love.